What's going on, you two? Welcome to Team Gradelock's podcast type content. I am the AlphonZeus Team Gradelock.
I am D. Henrico from Team Gradelock.
And I am Mama John from Team Gradelock.
All right. So the reason we put together this podcast today, we're going to be talking about Overdress. Pretty much, this is one of the big announcements that's coming out of Bushiroad regarding Cardfight Vanguard, what this could mean, what type of things you can look forward to the stream on the 19th, as well as the scenarios that we're looking at the current formats and what could Overdress do to them. So I guess what we're going to do, we're going to think of, okay, what do we think Overdress would be? And I guess I can start with the lead and then go into John and then Henry about what Overdress could mean. So for myself, I think Overdress is just, it could be a way to bring a new different mechanic into Cardfight Vanguard without having to upset some of the older mechanics that happen. Because with past the OG formats, we went from the original Superior Rides to Limit Breaks to Break Rides, and then Legion format, and then G format, and then we had to have that new overhaul with V format with gifts. And so I think Overdress is probably going to be another way to introduce a different mechanic into the game without having to upset or make broken prior mechanics from cards that they have released before. So that's my take on what Overdress is. And John, if you can, just tell what you think of Overdress.
Thanks, Al. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's you definitely have a strong point where it's most likely going to be some sort of new mechanic. I'm of the proponent that it won't have to do anything with, the effects of the previous formats. We've seen this a few times already, whereas, the minute Limit Break came out, everything else previous was kind of ignored, and then they just focused on Limit Break. And then after that, Break Ride was the new mechanic. And sure, there was some Limit Break there, but then they primarily focused on Break Riding. And then same thing happened with Legion, and then after Legion was Stride, and it was only Stride. It was strictly Stride for like the longest time. And then, of course, after Stride was the V format, and then we had the hard reboot where everything was just gift-based. So in that case, I'm of the opinion that they're not gonna make it so they have a way to synergize. Rather, it's going to be a new mechanic, and we as the players are probably gonna have to discover some sort of shenanigans in premium format, how it's gonna incorporate into our decks.
Okay. All right. And Henry, what is your take on Overdress and what it means to you?
Overdress, I feel like... So, we haven't heard about this in a very long time. So, besides regular order cards, we do have Blitz order cards, which technically only came out in a trial deck. Mm-hmm. I honestly feel like Bushiroad might start giving those Blitz order effects to certain Rigards or Grade 3s. Who knows? Like honestly, like order cards, yes, they do make the game spicier, but unfortunately, not all of them are splashable in every deck. Blitz order cards, like I said, Bushiroad introduced it in a trial deck, but afterwards, that's it. They dropped it. They never did any more order cards, any more other Rigards that gave order cards. On Ride Face, stuff like that. So I feel like Bushiroad's gonna start mixing in more Blitz order cards with Rigards. Say for instance, you call it, you get an order card, or if you call a certain amount of cards in one turn, you get like 5 order cards. Who knows? I honestly feel like there might be more, I guess, player interaction. That's something I do hope for. We did, like in the past, 6-7 years, we never had interaction in between players besides G-Guards. G-Guards made, I mean, in my opinion, I think G-Guards were phenomenal. And hopefully Bushiroad does take into consideration that Blitz order cards would definitely bring in more interaction and would definitely make the game more spicier.
Okay. All right. So with each of our different opinions about Overdress and what it could mean for the future of Cardfight Vanguard, one of the pieces of information that we can go off of is that there's going to be a stream that's going to take place on January 19th. We're recording this ahead of time to give our predictions, and hopefully this video will be up within the next, 3 days of this recording, give it a lot of time for editing. So I guess we'll go around the table and we'll do this again. So with January 19th, Bushiroad streams are particularly interesting to stop by. Mostly because you get to see half of the presentation, and the other half see the chat room's reaction to everything. So I guess for January 19th, given that Overdress is just such this big announcement, I'm hoping that they would announce probably a new refresher of cards. So when they were transitioning out of Limit Break Legion into the G format with Strides, they were introducing new units, they were introducing new zones, which in this case would be the Stride Zone, and it makes everything kind of fresh because these are new units. We haven't seen these before, getting used to, seeing Dotes and Blaster Blade and PBD, but now we're seeing Chrono Jet, Asha, Altmile, and they were the signs that something new was going to stop by. So I hope with at least Overdress, there's going to be a new of the Tri 3 or the team that Chrono led in G, where now we have a new trio of units that we can use. And I hope that they go on that path to introduce these new units, because especially it would work for newer players to come in and they not have to use like, oh, who is Blaster Blade or who is Asha. Like I think that with Overdress, if this is the big push that they're going for, they might as well turn into something new. And I think besides that, I hope that with Overdress, the new mechanic would be interesting enough that it can be balanced in standard, but also be a nice supplement to premium. I was just hoping that at least with the announcement that both of the formats would benefit off of this without making one or two cards insanely broken. But of course that will be tabled for a later part in our talk. But at least those are my two hopes that will come out of this stream on January 19th. So that's my take. So John, what do you think, or what do you look forward to coming out of this stream that will take place?
Honestly, Al, almost exactly what you said. Like I definitely want to see new cards, new cards, new mechanics, new lore would be nice. I mean, look, I love Dragonic Overlord, right? I think he's awesome, but I don't need 20 more Dragonic Overlords, or I don't need a break ride that I haven't used in like the past 10 years and like, oh man, I remember this card. Wait, why are they reprinting it? Like, I'm okay with them introducing new units that look cool. You don't have to sell me on nostalgia. I love your game already, and it's only been 10 years. I'm not that nostalgic, man. Yeah. So, go ahead, print new units. Make a new clan, That would probably draw in a lot of hype. A new clan that helps with a new mechanic or something like that. Also, like, if we're being completely honest, what I would want, right, is I want more ways that the opponent can interact with you on your turn, on your attacking turn, right? Because all we have right now is just guarding. That's all we have. And it's just like, we've gotten to a point in Vanguard where there's only so much you can do to try and halt your opponent. And sometimes that doesn't even matter, because if they just have their Exodia hand, or they just go aggro Unga Bunga, do all the setup you want. It's not going to matter in the end. So, make what I want is just some forms of interaction with your opponent on their turn. I would like less cards like, Gurgwit and Luard, and I'd like more cards like Impede Dragon, Denial Griffin, things like that allow, not necessarily retire, right? Maybe negation effects or stunning effects, or just ways where it's like, you have to plan out your strategy, maybe hold back on some cards, and then your opponent also like, okay, this guy's using this clan and uses this sort of mechanic, so I have to maybe recalculate my strategy. I can't just slap all my cards down and go Unga Bunga. So that's kind of what I want. That's what I want to see.
All right. And Henry, what do you want to see coming out of this stream?
Out of the stream, I want to see a new clan. Really, I know realistically we don't need new clan. We have 24, 26 clans at the moment.
Yeah, about so. It's pretty crowded.
I personally would like to see a new clan that does something different. Like I said, I would definitely like to know a new lore, definitely, about the clan. We definitely need more units. Like what John said, we definitely need more units that gives us more interactions during your opponent's turn. And hopefully, the stream could start announcing, hey, we're gonna start giving you guys breaks during sets, because honestly, guys, I think when Bushiroad does sets every month, I honestly think Bushiroad is just rushing it. They're not taking their time. They're not trying to perfect the card ratios in the set, and they're not trying to perfect the market. If you guys have noticed in the past few sets, besides BT12, BT11, BT10, they were terrible. They were good for 20 days. Afterwards, then the prices dropped, and the prices were they were dirt cheap. So I'm hoping out of this stream, Bushiroad does announcing we're gonna start releasing sets in like 2 or 3 months, because honestly, guys, new support, like, you need at least like a few weeks to play test it to get to know the deck and everything. So hopefully Bushiroad does start perfecting things more. Hopefully Bushiroad starts taking their time with new sets.
All right. So I guess I remember there was a time when, especially in the OG formats, what do you think was the best time that Bushiroad did? Would it be like every 2 months, 3 months? I know there was definitely some lulls within English catching up to GP for a while, at least in the beginning years. I was wondering if you would take like 1 to 2, if you would take a time frame in between sets, because you have to think about the booster sets, then the extra booster sets, and then like the collection stuff. So what do you think is a good schedule, at least if you would propose one, for at least how Bushiroad would put out their product?
For me, I think regular boosters and extra boosters should take at least 2 months in between breaks.
Okay.
As for collector sets, for example, like Revival Collection, Festival Collection, Clan Selection, I mean, those are okay. Those could be next month, because usually the meta doesn't change drastically with those sets. I mean, yes, they do get a boost, but they never really the meta never really changes that bad. For example, all the 5 selections, none of them were bad until we received GB8s. GB8 Strike Brothers, they were meta as soon as they received their GB8 for Strike Brothers. But yeah, for me, honestly, I think 2 months per extra booster and booster sets, and any other set besides that, it's okay to release it next month.
Gotcha. Okay. And John, when you were talking about the new units and new clan, so I guess one of the concerns people had is it seems like maybe some people think that maybe some of the clans can be too crowded, or when they would think about, builds, Standards in particular had a very interesting way of showing that when they released their first set, at least for, Oracle Think Tank, Royal Paladins, Kagero, it was only just the VRs. The deck profiles that came out in those first months as the clans were being introduced into V format, they were very linear. So although they are similar and each player has their own playing style, you can see usually the same setup of types of cards. So would you like to see that repeated again in a sense in Overdress, if they happen to introduce a new mechanic and just kind of put together the new units on them like that? Or do you want to see how much variety you can put into a set, so that when new sets come out, it's like you there's at least maybe 2 or 3 optimal builds you can take it from?
Oh, definitely. I think seeing more diversification in a clan, 100%. Because, at the end of the day, if you as an opponent, you're going against up a Kagero deck, you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be Dragonic Waterfall, right? I know how to play against that. But, if it were something like, oh, he flipped up Kagero, it can either be X or Y, and I don't know how to plan for it just yet. So it's a bit of that, I guess, too, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember especially when Dark Regulus was getting to it, usually by like the second set of support, they would have that, a little bit oof where you can run, oh, I can go with Death Anchor, or I can go with Dantarian, and then now all of a sudden it's starting to diversify a bit more. I think that also another point when I picked up on, especially as sets were getting more, you see some of the rare grade 3s or other grade 3s that have gifts or giftless stuff. It seems that when it came into like the competitive wise, sometimes it can all boil down to that 1 or 2 that you can run as your main. But I think that when we were trying to see Overdress, like I wonder like how would the power level be crept in, or how can one release, you know, 2 cards where it seems like the VR is outclassed by a rare grade 3, or vice versa. Because especially when Henry would go on his market watch, you would see how like some of the infamous VRs that are like dirt cheap, like it would be very flabbergasting to see that how what was it, end of stage, the end of stage value in Pale Moon has been very hilarious as a VR compared to some of the other rare grade 3s, like say the Silverthorn, that has got her value pretty well until she got restricted, but even then she became very popular as a staple. So I guess for rarities, what do you think? Like I guess I was also trying to see how Bushiroad would just balance out all of that. It seemed like, okay, we don't want the rare to like outclass the grade 3, but then again, we don't want the rares to be like kind of just used as tech options or something. I was wondering your take on that.
Okay. Well, of course, you could definitely see in the market.
Yeah,
a lot of the time,
yes.
yeah, a lot of the times the triple Rs are more expensive than the VRs, which is actually very sad.
Mm-hmm.
As of lately, the power creep, like I said, it all started with BT. I'm pretty sure BT6, then all the way to BT12. A lot of the triple Rs are actually more broken than the VRs itself. The only broken VR that's still going through the test of times is Luard. Luard is
Okay.
it's the best. Great, it's the best card in Shadow Islands. But besides that, I honestly think that Bushiroad needs to start fixing it, balancing more of the power creep, not just with the VRs, but also with the triple Rs and potentially with the double Rs. A lot of the double Rs, a lot of them are just quarters. None of them are dollars. Barely even 50 cents.
Okay.
So hopefully, I do hope Bushiroad starts fixing that. I hope Bushiroad starts putting in promo cards that should be in the sets in the first place.
Yes, Henry. Preach,
promo
Henry,
cards
please.
The promo cards are too good not to be in the sets. They're supposed to be played in decks. They're that good of a card. Back then, our promos were terrible for the first like 3 years. Back then, we got promo. We got Skull Dragon. The Skull Dragon undid promo.
Mm-hmm.
It got a plus 1k for every card in graveyard, but it couldn't attack unless it's a Vanguard. So it did almost absolutely nothing, and that promo was a quarter. Nowadays, our promos are almost $50 each, which makes no sense. So hopefully, I hope Bushiroad does fix the whole promo situation. I feel like Bushiroad should start putting those broken promos within the sets and maybe make a new rarity. By the way, I think ASRs are trash. I think it's a terrible idea. Yes, ASRs are very expensive. Yes, ASRs look nice and shiny, but honestly, they're just a higher rarity or a sparkly version of a card that you can get for like $10 or $15. ASRs, I think they're a joke. I don't think we need them. I think Bushiroad should start putting those promos within the set, and who knows, make a new rarity, like make them, I don't know, like VRR, I don't know, something like that.
They're probably put the PR rarity in there. And
Yeah, I mean, it's just, look, at the current moment, it's completely out of hand, right? Like, we're not asking for much, right? These promos that we were just talking about, you know, probably in Japan, it's super easy to find them in a magazine or you go to a tournament. But even, you know, beside what's going on with the world right now, the fact that it's like you have to visit a store or you have to buy a certain amount of product, and even then, in some cases, you don't even get the promo. You get a pack for purchasing the product. You don't get a guaranteed promo. You get a pack, and that pack might have the promo you're looking for. And then sometimes that promo, there's like 3 separate promos, and like 2 of them are like, okay, $1 each, and then the other one's like the $50 one.
Yeah.
So it's just it's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's very few promo packs that would actually have more than one money card. I still remember when getting the promo packs from going to Vanguard tournaments, and everyone's just like, okay, what did you get? It's like, oh, I got Death Anchor. Like, oh, I got the Unflipper, and then people just trying to like, you know, just trade off promos, or if the promo's money, then like, okay, then, you know, paid for your entry next week or something. I think that with Overdress, there's an opportunity to help correct that, and maybe like whether they make the promos more available, whether we put those value promos as participation prizes into tournaments, as well as give the 2 avenues for people that can do so. avenue that people can buy product but can't really go to tournaments because their locals are too far away, or give people that like to grind out tournaments more incentive to play in because they can also get a promo that's like worth their money back, and kind of slowly get it out so the value can at least be somewhat stagnated. So at least with Overdress, we have the shot. We have a shot where now it's just like, okay, you're gonna press the big red button. Hopefully a lot of the bad stuff that came with the formats that we played over the past couple of years, especially not just beyond competitive formats, but how cards are available, that can be at least a good reason why to press the reset button, to just give that change of pace. And then I guess from that note, when we talk about competitive play, now we just think of the impact that would have on the current formats that we have, which would be standard and premium. Of course, standard would just be everything in V format, and premium would be everything in the game. And both have their own ban restricted list. And with the announcement of Overdress, one of the key topics that I would like to talk about, at least with this podcast, is to understand the impact of what it's like to introduce this new format that's supposed to act as this reset button, or this new birth of life. And we kind of clued into earlier from what we talked about before, especially when introducing new units involved. So I guess we'll go around the table this time. Let's start with Henry and then John and myself, and let's go through the impact of an Overdress format. As into, I think we'll just say that Bushiroad will continue with, standard to premium. I guess if we have time to talk about standard modern equivalent premium, then we can go for it. But for now, do we think that when they think standard, it's only going to be an Overdress? Because Henry, I remember you hinted that with the Blitz order cards, they can probably translate them into this Overdress format and kind of just explode and have like all these new mechanics to make it fresh. So I was wondering what your take on Overdress would do to the format, as well as how would it impact the way that we play Vanguard or acquire Vanguard cards today.
Okay. But before I begin, we probably should have said this in the beginning of the video. Guys, we've been playing this card game for almost 10 years. We've been playing it before the cards even came out in English. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our information, if you guys don't understand it, it's perfectly fine. We're that old. I'm 31. I started the game when I was 20 years old. So a lot of the things here you're probably not going to remember because, like I said, we've been playing the game for that long. So I honestly don't think Bushiroad is going to forget premium format. I think even though the numbers for premium format is less than standard format at Bushiroad events, I highly doubt Bushiroad will drop premium. I think Bushiroad will still keep supporting premium no matter what. Thing is, Carpet Vanguard is Bushiroad's biggest game. Now with Buddy Fight gone, now with Dragonborn gone, now with Luck and Logic gone, Bushiroad can just focus more on Carpet Vanguard and start perfecting it, because Carpet Vanguard, it's not one of the top 3 card games, but it's one of the top 4 card games in my opinion. I could be wrong. And Carpet Vanguard, like I said, it's been going for 10 years. A lot of card games have not reached that milestone ever. So I hope Bushiroad does start perfecting Carpet Vanguard. I feel like Bushiroad will start supporting premium format by putting in more G guards. Hopefully they give us more G guards. Hopefully Bushiroad starts adding more like Blitz order cards for premium format cards. Maybe give more effects if you're on a Stride unit. Who knows? As for standard format, I think yes, standard format. Me personally, I don't think Bushiroad is going to rotate the format. I think Bushi is going to push standard into Overdress, and the sales should be. I hope the sales will be good. But assuming so, I feel like Bushiroad is not going to drop the ball on this one, but again, I could be wrong.
Okay. All right. And John, what's your take on Overdress and its impact on the formats?
So, for me, what I would like, obviously, is a positive impact. But more so what I want is I want it to be, a good gateway to introduce new players. It's like with V format, I felt like, okay, we got a few new players. G format, when Strides came out, we saw a whole bunch of new players, definitely. And then V format, we saw the occasional few new players, but I feel like it's been less and less. Okay. And like what I would want is like for this just to be a nice gateway to introduce new players. Maybe there are people that are still on the fence and they play Zero, but they haven't played the card game. and maybe because it just looks too complicated, or for some reason like the mechanics don't enjoy the mechanics of the real card game for whatever reason. And Overdress, what I want from it is just like a good mechanic that helps balance out the game, but at the same time is casual enough where it can introduce new players to get more energy to get reintroduced into the community, which is what I really want.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because with the way that with Vanguard is, especially in such a market that is the trading card game market, yeah, not many games can make it past the 10 years, but very fewer games can actually still retain the audience that they had and keep building this forward. And with all the things that happened from our participation in all the talks from the Card Fight Con to just the new products and collaborations that they're doing, I remember when they announced like the Bang Dream collab, and I was like, wow, they pulled a Weiss Schwartz move there. And thinking of what Overdress could mean not only for the veterans like us, but for the new players, it's more incentive to put in those new clans and new units that people can identify with, because I can see how some people would be intimidated when they come to the card game, because they would just be like, this Draconic Overlord card is like 10 years old, like what do you mean? Or just say, oh, this Chrono Dragon card, this is actually older than my baby brother, like what's going on here? And sometimes with the measure of time, it just feels like when we played this game for so long that all these new players, sometimes they can just be so overwhelmed with all the information that's coming through. So Overdress being that next opportunity, just as how people got in with Chrono Jet and Asha and Altmile, just how people like us when we got in with CEO, with King of Knights Alfred and Dragonic Overlord, there's going to be that next trio for people to get into as well. And even with the world circumstances, once this new normal comes back, I'm sure that they would introduce and push these new characters, especially with the new anime. I feel like the anime in particular, everyone got into the anime early on. But then, like, as it went on, and of course, you have plot devices and plot armors and ways that people can get around to get their wins. By the time it went to the other series, like Cartoon Vanguard, that was a very interesting way to just saying, we need a break from the main storyline. Let's try this magical go route. But with Overdress, now you just say, okay, new anime. Let's see what we can put in. Of course, we can always give shout outs to the characters, but then with Overdress, this is a new era of Vanguard where we want to promote that out. And
I'm gonna be honest, I have not watched any of the If Vanguard. I haven't watched of the Genesis where the shop manager was the main protagonist. Like, I didn't watch any of that.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish V series. I mean, mainly because I read the manga.
Yeah. And at least the Overdress, like, okay, it's a new revitalization. We can finally try out these new characters. I'm not sure what they announced about the Overdress anime, but hopefully it will come to something like that where you can explore these new characters and new units and see how they.
I think that's going to be definitely like a large talking point for sure. They're gonna definitely have the anime as like their primary selling point to introduce everything. I feel like when the stream happens, it's primarily going to be talking about the anime.
Okay.
Because I feel like that was like, I could be wrong, but I think that was kind of like with the V series when they did the restart, was like,
okay,
yeah, they first started talking about the anime and how they were going to reboot the series, and then they started introducing all the mechanics. So I think if anything, they're going to first introduce the anime for sure.
All right.
All I hope for the anime is that they start giving the full effects in the anime. I stopped watching the anime since ZRs, when ZRs came out.
Okay.
Like, they would show King of Knights Alfred. They'd be like, oh, attack, activate your skill. But I'm like, all right, so what's this cost? Nope, activate your skill. Hopefully in the new anime, they start actually saying activate their effects, how they're activating it, what exactly does it do.
Like, I don't understand mood runes, man.
Yeah.
Actually, say your stuff.
Like lately in Carpet Vanguard, like they ride a grade 3 and that's it, they win. Like, oh, that's it, I won. This is so boring lately. So I stopped watching Carpet Vanguard, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like, especially after they do in the anime, they do like, okay, it's for show purposes, but then when they do like card of the day or something, they're like, okay, this is the actual card, and I'm like, you could still make the card reveal in the anime just as epic by them announcing what skill it does without just having to put in like an addendum at the end. It's like, wait, it's not that broken, guys. Hold on. Like,
it's funny because I remember like Break Ride era. Was it the Link Joker era? Yeah. Where it's like I'd be hyped every week because they'd be announcing a new skill for a break ride or for a new unit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yeah,
I
and
feel so old. Jeez.
yeah. we're all getting old, and I think like what they can do, especially for people that love the nostalgia, that do love like seeing like new iterations of their cards. I think what Bushiroad did right was when they introduced the clan set. So they introduced as many of the old units as they can. So like when they brought back Spectral Duke Dragon, when they brought back Chaos Breaker Dragon, when they brought back all the other units that haven't been able to get retrains. I think that's a nice way to cut off a format, because at least they people can always think like, oh, if this FX card got into this new format, what would this card do? It can be saved for the end when they're beginning to transition into the new era, when by at least giving us that sort of that fan fiction-esque skill of just saying, all right, if we had an actual set and this is the card that we release, let's see how it works at this point. Of course, it may be a couple months to a year or so before this new format transitions over, but let's see how much more we can insert into this format just to go out with a bang. I feel like by going that route, you satisfy the nostalgia players by giving them what they wanted, just to see what their favorite units would look like if they were in V format, but also give the other players kind of saying like, all right, they're going balls to the wall, like, okay, we're going to a Wild West scenario. Now I have to prepare not only for Messiahs or Deleters, but now I have to prepare for Chaos Breaker Dragon. And I feel like what they did is kind of like almost what they do in like the Premium Revival Collection, where they just say, all right, in Standard, these are all the units you can play now. I'm sorry that we couldn't put in Dai Kaiser or other cards, but this is the most that we can do. I guess that's my take on what they did towards the end of this current V format. But do you guys agree, disagree? But
I agree.
I think honestly, yeah, they're just doing one last big push.
Yeah.
All the nostalgia, and then they're gonna give us new cards. At least that's what I hope.
Yeah. And even when they go into Overdress, like at least with the transition, maybe I'm just thinking maybe like, okay, V format is gonna include it with Overdress, so now you have like at least a decent card pool, so it can also help with people that want to buy into V format as well. But then again, I can also accept the reality that, okay, Overdress is going to be its very own thing. V is just going to join the premium side exclusively. So I guess either way that this format is going to go, I'm ready for it, because I know that people are just going to be really excited to see like what's going to happen next. I think, yeah. Any other closing thoughts before we close out this podcast?
And of course, a little bit of the market.
Yeah.
So right at the moment, of course, if you guys don't know, I mean, by the time you're watching this, it should still be in January. Right now, the market is definitely booming for Cover Vanguard. People are still buying cards, which I don't think they should, because again, I highly doubt Bushiroad will rotate the format, but you guys never know. Bushiroad has done many mistakes throughout the 10 years, and God forbid this might be another mistake. Again, I highly doubt Bushiroad will rotate the format, but I honestly don't think people should be buying cards at the moment, especially clan selection. I would definitely not buy boxes. I'm definitely gonna do a video about that hopefully later on in a week or two. Clan selection is actually very expensive. So if you guys don't know, usually I pay $660 for a case for a regular booster set. They're supposed to be the most expensive sets, but clan selection, my distributors are selling them for $760. So with that, I'm assuming stores are going to sell the cases for $800 or $850, and the boxes are probably going to retail for around $65 to $70 each. It's the most expensive Cover Vanguard box that we've ever purchased. So with clan selection, I do recommend maybe buy splits or buy singles or do pre-orders. I don't know. I mean, again, everything is up in the air right now at the moment. Like I said, the market is definitely booming. People are still buying cards. Just the fact that everyone received their stimulus checks, everyone's spending already. But I honestly don't think you should be buying any cards at the moment until Bushiroad's announce what's going to happen with Overdress. Carver Vanguard overall in the market it's been doing very well. For me, if you guys don't know me personally, I've been making a living just selling pieces of cardboard on tcupad.com and locally. So with that in mind, I think I hope Carver Vanguard, the secondary market, I hope it goes strong. Hopefully, once they announce Overdress, hopefully they're not going to rotate the format, because if as soon as they announce that, it's going to open the doors where people start doing buyouts, start investing into older cards. For example, let's say if they do give us a new game mechanic, and let's say, oh, the first few clans that we're going to give support to is Kagros, Royal Paladins, OGTs, and Nova Grapplers. So expect to see buyouts happening for certain cards in those clans. God forbid, Airmo gets bought out again, Berserk Dragon, Silent Tom, all this stuff. So again, guys, I would honestly just wait, save your money, don't buy any cards at the moment. Wait until they announce what Overdress is, and if Overdress is a new game mechanic, and then as soon as they announce the first support to which clans, then do buyouts. Go crazy. Do your own market. I know I definitely will.
All right, John, what are your last thoughts about this?
So my last thoughts are this, Al. Guys, keep in mind, at the end of the day, that these are just our opinions. This isn't state of fact. You know, make your opinions of it what you will. But the way Vanguard is right now, personally, the direction it's going, I'm not a fan of right now. It's going way too aggro. It's way too fast. The meta is developing at an exponentially fast rate. And I know the game can be better because it has been better. I'd like it to be better. There are ways Bushiroad can improve. I hope they do improve. And this Overdress gives me optimism. And I hope at the end of the day, it gives you optimism as well. Because for all we know, it's going to be a great mechanic. It's going to be amazing. Or it couldn't. It could just tank. We don't know. But it's good to have optimism nonetheless.
All right. And I guess my last thoughts on Overdress is that hopefully they don't overdo it or just kind of push it too hard, because the rate that it takes for some folks to figure out a format, to solve a format, and I look to usually Magic the Gathering and see how fast it takes to solve standard or solve modern or solve it, when sometimes people can just see what is the best check for the meta for those types of tournaments, and then looking at Cardfight Vanguard, it's like there's just so much stuff going on. And although there's meta reports and tournament reports that come in from people that just playtest on Cardfight Area or other online formats, now you get to see, okay, what type of energy does this bring to the fan base? And I think that this is going to be an overall positive reaction, because the way that they're inventing themselves more from doing a gift mechanic. Oh, this grade 3 has an extra thing you get. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And just like how we were excited with Stride format, like, oh man, we have an extra deck now. And then now we have the Blitz orders, and hopefully we'll see more of those orders come in. And I think that also the interesting thing that makes Cardfight Vanguard different from all the other formats is that, or the other games, I mean, is that they have put in kind of a strict way of how you should build a deck. That there's not yet any other clans outside of the one random MLB deck that has the Shadow Paladin card Blast of Dark in it, or putting in your clan nation dragons into, okay, I have one for Dark Irregulars, I have one for Pale Moon, but they're the same card. So there are ideas that have been explored before, but maybe Overdress will come in and just see, out of all the other mechanics we introduced before, let's see which one we can try and push as a new main mechanic. Or maybe there can be two main mechanics. I guess whatever it could be, I hope that it doesn't forget where it came from after all these years that we played, that it's still like awesome, like you get the same energy that you get when you ride the new unit to grade 3 and all this stuff happens. And that as we get more interactive, then we can see how it is from not just G Guardians, but maybe with these Blitz orders or other things that we can have. And hopefully once the stream pops off, I know we'll definitely probably give our reactions, I guess, to the stream, or just see what's been blowing up on social media, because now it's a pivotal point. It's going to be 10 years by this December in the West for lasting in Cardfight Vanguard. So let's see what happens for the next 10 years. Like, it's going to be fun. Dude, I'm 30. I'm like...
We're old, Al. We're old. Oh my god.
Technically, me and Alphonsus are old. You're still in your 20s.
Yeah. Well, old.
I'll be walking with a cane before you know it, Henry.
Old still is the concept. You can still have some serious fun in your 30s, and that's a cool thing. If I could see people dude, I can see voice actors and like many other folks that are just doing well. I'm like, wait a second, that dude's 44. I'm like, how the hell is that good? And it all comes to maintenance, really. But at least a quick cover on that. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our podcast. And as we talk about the game that we love to play, as well as the game that we've been playing for 10 years, pretty much, like competitively on and off at times, but still love the game. And we hope that Overdress would be this new epic chapter that would come into our lives. So I guess that's it for the episode. I am the AlphonZeus, Team Gradelock.
I am the Mama John of Team Gradelock.
And I'm the Henrico from Team Gradelock, and I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are being safe, and I hope to see you guys always next time.
Deuces.